remarkable meeting with House Republicans up in Baltimore. Here's the president at the beginning of that event today. It really was an event, talking about the tone of Washington and specifically the big fight over health care. He began by saying that the main components of the bill are similar to what Howard Baker, Bob Dole, and Tom Daschle proposed last year. Let's listen.
Now, you may not agree with Bob Dole and Howard Baker, and certainly you don't agree with Tom Daschle on much, but that's not a radical bunch. But if you were to listen to the debate, and frankly how some of you went after this bill, you'd think that this thing was some Bolshevik plot. No, I mean, that's how you guys presented it. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, how is it that a plan that is pretty centrist? No, look, I mean, I'm just saying, I know you guys disagree, but if you look at the facts of this bill, most independent observers would say this is actually what many Republicans, it is similar to what many Republicans proposed to Bill Clinton when he was doing his debate on health care. So all I'm saying is we've got to close the gap a little bit between the rhetoric and the reality. I'm not suggesting that we're going to agree on everything, whether it's on health care or energy or what have you. But if the way these issues are being presented by the Republicans is that this is some wild-eyed plot to impose huge government in every aspect of our lives, what happens is you guys then don't have a lot of room to negotiate with me. I mean, the fact of the matter is that many of you, if you voted with the administration on something, are politically vulnerable in your own base, in your own party. You've given yourselves very little room to work in a bipartisan fashion because what you've been telling your constituents is, this guy's doing all kinds of crazy stuff that's going to destroy America. And I would just say that we have to think about tone. It's not just on your side, by the way. It's on our side as well. This is part of what's happened in our politics, where we demonize the other side so much that when it comes to actually getting things done, it becomes tough to do.
Indiana Congressman Mike Pence organized the meeting today and had the first question. Congressman, thanks for coming on Hardball tonight, the night of your big day. Congratulations, you made it. Let's just talk technique here. Is this the beginning, perhaps, of something like they have in Britain? I know we're an independent country and glad to be, but they do have an interesting system over there where they make the prime minister in that country, who runs the government, come over and answer the questions in the House. Do you like that idea?
Chris, I like our system, but let me tell you something. Would you like to see the president regularly come to the House members or to Democrats and Republicans together even and answer questions? Yeah, well, no, not on the House floor. The Prime Minister of England goes to the floor of Parliament because the Prime Minister is a member of Parliament.
Right.
So, no, that's not appropriate. But, you know, this was a good conversation. Anyone that looked in today knows that this was a frank and honest and direct conversation between House Republicans and the President of the United States. It was serious. It was respectful. But Republicans made their point, which is, I believe, going to be news to maybe some of your viewers, and that is whether it be on stimulus or on budget or on energy, on health care, Republicans, far away from being the party of no, as we've heard from this administration and Democrats in Congress, Republicans offered substantive alternatives on all of those issues in the last year. We presented the president with a summary of those. He acknowledged that today. So maybe we can banish this party of no ideas business that has so dominated the public debate and get down to really debating the different philosophy of government of both parties in the days ahead. That's what we did today.
Well, what compromise would you say yes to on health care? What compromise? On health care, for example. Tell me the package. Give me the main details.
You know, I was Yeah. Look, the president today said that part of the bill that he thought was moving through Congress would allow people to purchase health insurance across state lines. Clearly the American people have rejected this massive multi-thousand-page government takeover of health care, but Republicans stand ready to address the issue of the rising cost of health insurance with some incremental, targeted reforms. And the fact the president today referenced allowing Americans to purchase health insurance across state lines, look, we're ready to talk about it. But you got to understand, Chris, what happened today, I think, was truly remarkable and welcome, and that is we had the President of the United States, who is also the leader of the Democratic Party in America today, acknowledge that Republicans have substantive, positive alternatives on all the major issues of the day. And this was the beginning of the first real exchange of ideas, because, you know, the Pelosi Democrats in Congress have totally shut us out of the process for the last 12 months.
Let's take a look at what, well, here's more from the president today, and you respond to this, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman Pence. Here's the president.
I am absolutely committed to working with you on these issues, but it can't just be political assertions that aren't substantiated when it comes to the actual details of policy, because otherwise we're going to be selling the American people a bill of goods. I mean, the easiest thing for me to do on the health care debate would have been to tell people that what you're going to get is guaranteed health insurance, lower your costs, all the insurance reforms. We're going to lower the cost of Medicare and Medicaid, and it won't cost anybody anything. That's great politics. It's just not true.
Was the president right? There's no free lunch in health care.
Well, look, of course, there are all kinds of choices to be made in the development of public policy, but I think I remember that moment. I was a few feet away from the president at the time. I think he was talking to Congressman Tom Price. He alluded to our solutions, our Better Solutions handbook that we handed in today. It's available at gop.gov if you want to look through it. And I think he thought that our proposals were just the summary references on the page of the Better Solutions book. And Tom Price of Georgia and myself went on to say, no, we have substantive, detailed bills that were filed in the Congress that were summarily excluded from consideration by your party on Capitol Hill. And the president, from where I'm sitting, acknowledged that. He said he'd made the hard choices. Well, we made the hard choices too. You can look them up in our legislation. And you know, I got to tell you, all we've met with is a reflexive no from the party in power in Congress in this administration. And, I give the president his due today. He came, he listened. Republicans put out our positive alternatives on all these issues that have been offered over the last year. And, let the games begin. We'll start the debate on serious policy. But we got to be at the table. We got to have people understanding, just as they put out detailed plans, we put out detailed plans. No more of this party of no ideas business, Chris. I think we put that to the lie today.
Well, you seem angry in your body language, Congressman. You're suggesting that you're mad at the guy. I want to ask you this. Do you think that it would be good for the Republicans? Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like you don't have an overcoat. I'm sorry. Let me ask you the question. If I have a hunch that at this point in the political battle, as you get closer to November, it's not in your party's interest for the president to achieve a modicum of success on the health care front, that it wouldn't be in your interest to have some kind of compromise, even in the center, which would do, pre-existing conditions, something on portability, something on interstate competition for insurance companies. Even if it was the agreed upon set of accomplishments, your party wouldn't really like to see the president win this one.
Well, look, I'd like to see the American people win this one. And I want to tell you, Republicans are not opposed to health care reform that'll lower the cost of health insurance, Chris. We've been fighting for that. It's a serious issue facing the country. We just fundamentally disagreed with the massive big government approach that was moving through the House and the Senate, and we rejected it. I think the American people have rejected it. But you like Jack Kemp. The late Jack Kemp was a good friend of mine. He used to quote Lincoln in saying, "We serve our party best when we serve our country first." And I assure you, if this administration and Democrats in Congress come to us with some responsible, incremental proposals that are truly focused on lowering the cost of health insurance or dealing with pre-existing conditions in a fiscally responsible way, like doing medical malpractice reform, we'll go fight the elections out on another issue. We want to help the American people.
Okay.
We want to work together on a
So that sounds like a smart
basis,
proposal.
but it all begins with what happened today.
I think today's good. Let me
Say
ask you
again?
this. In other words, you throw in pre-existing conditions, throw in malpractice, throw in interstate competition, do something in portability. You see there is enough to put together a comprehensive, or not a comprehensive, a core reform bill which would help reduce the cost. You think it's possible?
Yeah, take a look at the Republican alternative bill. Go to GOP.gov. We did exactly that. With the savings in medical malpractice insurance, we beefed up the funds for pre-existing conditions, and we allowed Americans to purchase health insurance across state lines. I really, politics are politics, Chris, and that never happens better than on Hardball. I concede that point. And you and I may not agree on everything, but we got to do something to lower the cost of health insurance in this country. But we don't need to do it by growing the size of government.
Now, I just want to see more people insured. That's what I also want to have more people carrying the burden. Healthy people helping unhealthy people, because in the end, that's how it's going to work. Here's the president answering your question today about tax cuts. Let's listen.
Here's what I'm going to do, Mike. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at what you guys are proposing. And the reason I say this, before you say okay, I think this is important to note. What you may consider across-the-board tax cuts could be, for example, greater tax cuts for people who are making $1 billion. I may not agree to a tax cut for Warren Buffett. You may be calling for a across-the-board tax cut for the banking industry right now. I may not agree to that.
Your response to that, Mr. Pence?
Well, I thought the president answered it pretty candidly. He said he would be willing to consider across-the-board tax cuts as long as they weren't across the board. Again, the president came out today with this business hiring tax credit that was last tried by Jimmy Carter and failed. And I just said to him, can't we get away from these boutique targeted tax credits and stimulus plans and just give working families, small businesses, and family farms the kind of tax relief that John F. Kennedy gave them across the board, Ronald Reagan gave them across the board? The president said no, but let the debate begin. I think the American people are with us on that one.
Well, maybe they are. People like tax cuts. By the way, I'm with you on this meeting today. Congratulations. I think you did something for the country today and for your party as well, probably. Anyway, Congressman Mike Pence of Indiana, one of the leaders of the party.
When you